Hello, everybody, and welcome to Countdown to Kickoff. It is Port Vale away tomorrow, and I'm joined this evening by Max for a very special festive preview. We've got a great show on for you tonight. We've got a Port Vale fan and a Posh fan to give their opinions, and Max and I will be chatting all things Peterborough United. A big day in terms of injury news, especially to delve into. Will we see some familiar faces and some of our favourite players back in the squad tomorrow? And has there been a last-minute injury hitch to one of our most informed players? Well, we'll be discussing all of that and more this evening. Just quickly before we get going, this episode is in partnership with Elite Lawn Maintenance. Now, Elite Lawn Maintenance are a local, independent, family-run lawn care company specialising in renovations and chemical treatments. They run their programs within 30 miles of Peterborough, and their products are up to 360 times stronger than what you'll find at your garden centre, which is pretty impressive. And they used to manage Posh's pitch as well. They've got over 10 years of experience maintaining football pitches, and they're Peterborough's leading independent lawn care company. So contact Elite Lawn Maintenance to arrange a free lawn consultation, and the Poshcast listeners will receive 25% off their first treatment. There we go. Just about got through it. Max, how are you this evening?
Yeah, good, thank you. It seems, Charlie, that we end up doing Countdown to Kickoff before some sort of holiday. It was Halloween last time, wasn't it? We were on doing it together, and this time it's the one before Christmas. So yeah, it's good. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a very hopefully fruitful end to December, and pick up some points and push ourselves even up further up the table.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. To discuss tomorrow's game, first of all, we'll be joined by AV7, or Alfie, as his sort of name is. Alfie, how are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Sorry I was a bit late, but we're here. Most important thing.
Good. Alfie kept us right on our toes, because till about 8:01, while that intro was playing, we weren't going to have a Port Vale fan for you, but then he came in and swooped in at the last minute, and all is well. So, Alfie, talk to me about your season so far at Port Vale.
I mean, what can I say, really? It's been no short of a complete disaster. I was on a Port Vale podcast a couple of days ago, and we were speaking about similar things. And the one thing I did want to say is, I mean, the squad that we have, in my opinion, I think we should be nowhere near where we are. And I think we are massively underperforming. I mean, 2 seasons ago when we got relegated under Andy Crosby, there was the excuse of, the squad was very under par for the league. You know, we had Ryan Loft and Uchik Pezu trying to score goals in League One. It was never going to happen. But, you know, we've got Devante Cole up front now, who is a prolific goal scorer at this level. You've got Cameron Humphreys at the back. You've got Joe Gauchi in goal, who's an Australian international. So we've got the spine, we've got the squad to do it, but something just doesn't seem to have clicked at the moment. But we are undefeated in our last 3. Obviously, 2 of them are in cups, and then we managed to get a draw at Luton away, where things did look a little bit better, but it's still too inconsistent for me. And yeah, to answer your question, it's been a complete disaster so far.
Well, going away hasn't been your problem this season, has it, Alfie? You've won 1 game at home all season and failed to score in 67% of those home games. What is it that has made your home form just look so poor?
Well, I mean, the 1 game we did win at home, we shouldn't have won either. We had a very, very lucky penalty in the 95th minute, which Ronan Curtis converted against Mansfield. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. It's really hard to sort of put a finger on it. I think the quality of League One is a lot better than what it was last time we were in the league. But again, we've got a good squad. The crowd doesn't help. I'll be honest. The crowd have been pretty dull this season, but there's nothing to respond off of on the pitch. So it's hard to put a finger on it. It really is. And I don't see why we play better away than we do at home, because obviously Vale Park is notorious for being a big pitch, big space, a lot of room for wingers. So we should be using that to our advantage, and it should be somewhere where teams fear to play, but it's not at the moment, and it is really hard to put a finger on it.
Yeah, obviously we look at your squad, and I was looking earlier to sort of do my research for this, and I just saw so many names that I thought are really good League One players, you know, starting at the back, players like Cameron Humphreys, who was, you know, highly rated, and then you go into midfield, you've got George Byers in there, who is a very good player, and then Devante Cole up front. I mean, it's a very good League One squad. At what point does the blame shift towards the manager and Darren Moore, or has that already sort of started?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there are a lot of Darren Moore outs. I'd say 80% of the fan base is now Darren Moore out. I mean, you've only got to look at his League One record at Vale. I think it's something like 5 games won in League One over the space of like 18 months. It's not very good, is it? Let's be honest. For me, I quite like Darren Moore. I mean, you've only got to look at our game at Birmingham away in the Carabao Cup where we set up, and the defensive display we put on there was absolutely amazing. The smash and grab win, that was a Darren Moore masterclass. But for me, it just hasn't worked. He did the job that he was there to do. He got us back where we belong in League One, but it hasn't worked. Obviously he came in at a difficult time when Andy Crosby got sacked, so he was set up to fail. And then he did his job, but he hasn't done very well in League One this year, and a lot of the fan base have turned on him. He's slowly gaining them back, but if we lose against you guys tomorrow, everyone will be Darren Moore out, and I think he could be gone.
Yeah, you're just talking there about everybody being Darren Moore out if Posh win tomorrow. I just want your opinion on whether or not if Posh score the first goal, how toxic could the atmosphere become in your stadium?
You know what? I think it is already sort of so toxic now, and people just sort of expect it, that I don't think it can get any worse. Yeah, last time we went down, a lot of the blame was focused on our director of football, David Flitcroft. So Darren Moore sort of dodged a bullet there, but Darren Moore is the only one that can be blamed now. There's a lot of chants directed at Darren Moore. I mean, when Donny came, Darren Moore, your football is, and then we were joining in with that chant, and that's not good. That's not good at all. It shows just how sort of against Darren Moore the fan base is. I've got the opportunity to speak to Darren Moore several occasions. I do want to just say I like him as a person. He's a very good human being. He's obviously a very good manager. He did what he did with West Brom in his first managerial job, and did what he did with Sheffield Wednesday and all the other clubs he's been at. But again, it's just not working this season at Vale. And I really hope he turns it around. I really do. And a win against you guys and our season's right back on track. But I just don't see it happening. I'll be really honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough one. There was a time where, a lot of us Posh fans thought we were going to be the Port Vale this season and be rooted to the bottom. So we can all sympathise with you in that regard. I would just like to. No, obviously it doesn't sound like there's a lot of optimism around, and it sounds like you're struggling a lot. But if there was sort of a danger man for Posh to look out for in that Port Vale team tomorrow, someone that Posh fans should be a little bit nervous about when they get the ball, or something like that, who are we looking out for in that squad?
I mean, I'd say Reece Walters, but for some reason Darren Moore just does not want to start him. Reece Walters came through our academy, burst through on the scene last season, was very good, probably top 3 players last season in League 2 when he got his chance, but this season just hasn't got his chance. I don't know why. He absolutely ran the show against Luton. So if he does get the chance to start against you guys, Reece Walters in the midfield for sure, along with George Byers. George Byers will be injured. He went off on a stretcher against Luton. So again, you guys have dodged a bullet there. But Reece Walters for me would be the man to watch.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, if we're looking to target an area, or not, this is not necessarily one player to target, but sort of what is your big weakness? Where is the areas that we're going to get joy tomorrow?
Ooh, we're lacking a lot of depth in the full-backs, in the wing-backs. We've been unlucky with injuries, with Mitch Clark and Liam Gordon being injured. That's a difficult one, I think the whole team in general, the strikers are really good, but the centre-backs are really bad, or vice versa. It's just the whole team.
The whole team is one of my favourite answers I've ever got to that.
You're going to say it's all doom and gloom. Then there's nothing. There's not. We've been in situations, but there's always been like an ounce of positivity that maybe the squad is a bit better. But it's just doom and gloom for you guys then.
For some, definitely. I'm quite an optimistic person when it comes to Vale. Obviously, I get a little bit more insight than maybe the average fan does, because I get to speak to the players a little bit more, and they say things because you sort of build that trust with them. So you get to understand a little bit more sort of what's going on, and it seems like now, compared to 5-6 games ago, that the players are enjoying their football a lot more. There's been a change in shape. There's been a slight change in how Darren Moore is approaching the games. I know the players called a big meeting a couple of weeks back, and it genuinely does seem like the players are enjoying their football a lot more now. But the fans have just got to see that now. Luton was a big one because we should have won that game, and that would have been massive. The whole fan base then flips, and it becomes a real. We've got you guys. In our heads. If we beat Luton, that's a winnable game. Then that's 6 points for a team that's rock bottom. That lifts us off rock bottom, and then all of a sudden we've got 20 games to go until the end of the season. This is more than doable. But because we didn't win that game against Luton, because we missed chances, because we let in a sloppy goal, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we played well, but we didn't get the business done. So it's a massive game. It's a massive game against you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just that's really interesting. Just sort of a bit away from the game tomorrow. Obviously, if anyone's not seen Alfie's channel, it's AB7 as he's put there on YouTube. Just wanted to ask you a little bit about sort of what you're doing, because you're very quite lucky in a way that you get really quite open access to interview players and manager and stuff. How has that come about? And describe to us how sort of that relationship with the club works.
Do you know what? The only reason I am a Port Vale fan is because of an ex-goalkeeper called Scott Brown. Me and my cousin went round the back. At Vale, it's really easy to access the players. You literally just walk around the back. There's your odd regulars that are getting signatures and whatnot. And we just went around the back, and I was young. I just wanted to speak to the players. I was sort of in awe of them. And Scott Brown made a massive effort to come and speak to me. We must have stood there chatting to me, my cousin, and my dad for a good 15 minutes. So then young me being me, made a sign for Scott Brown with his chant on it, held it up at the next home game. Scott Brown saw it, came round the back, got it signed. Then a couple of weeks later, I got his gloves. I've got them framed behind my bed. So yeah, that's the reason I'm a Port Vale fan. But just going after the game and just building that relationship with players. The players that come out, oh, you're out, Alf. The young fan, you're out, Alf. And then I started vlogging the game, so I started doing YouTube. And then it just sort of came. Why don't I speak to them on camera rather than asking all the questions off camera? But I'll just do it on camera instead, in a bit more of a sort of a professional manner. So I started doing it, improved over time. Then started speaking to the away players and getting a bit of a mixed opinion. Started speaking to some big people. I managed to get Robbie Williams. I've done Michael Carrick. Loads of other people. And over time, you just build them relationships with the new players. Some are harder to speak to than others, but it's a really fun thing to do, and it's really good to sort of get a bit of extra access, I suppose you can call it, but also just build a relationship with the players that you watch week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, and it's something that we discuss all the time, that we'd love to have more access to the players. I mean, Posh are relatively guarded in that sense, but hopefully we're hoping that will change. And I mean, congratulations as well on what you've built at such a young age. Just one other thing I wanted to ask you about, sort of looking through your social media, is you've got in your Instagram bio that you're the founder of Kick for Mind. I just wondered if you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so when I got taken down by the EFL for copyright rules with the vlogging, I went through a bit of a difficult time. I'm not going to lie, with mental health. So I did a challenge where I ran 5k a day, raising money for Mind, which was a huge success. I managed to complete the challenge, raised just shy of £3,000. And then obviously charity games. Obviously, you had the Sidemen charity game, Soccer Aid. Obviously, a few other local ones. So I just thought, I play for Nantwich Town, which is about 40 minutes down the road for me. So I just thought, it'll raise awareness for Nantwich, but then also raise money for charity. So why don't I try do a similar thing? So it took a couple of days, get a name. I wanted to do it properly, so get a name, get a logo, sort of set up what we were going to be. And then it was just about networking and getting these contacts to people, going to different charity games, speaking to these people. Oh, my game's on such and such a date. Let's swap some contact details. I'll send you a message across and see if you're free. And then we were lucky that we got quite a few big names right off the bat. And then big names message their mates who are also big names in the YouTube or social media world. And then it just sort of builds like that. And then we managed, because of my relationship with the Port Vale players, we managed to get some ex-pros, and then them ex-pros messaged their mates who are also ex-pros. And it just sort of built like that. And it was a really successful day. We did a tournament style at Nantwich Town. We got about 500 people in, and yeah, it was a really good and a really successful day. And everyone I spoke to, who played and who watched, said they really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's something we're definitely doing again in the future.
Yeah, that's great, and obviously let us know. We had one of our own playing, didn't you? Tobber played in it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he was on my team.
Yeah, we love it. Tobber is a massive fan of ours, and we love Tobber. Just wanted to finally then ask you for, well, I'm assuming this is not going to be an optimistic answer from you, Alfie, but what is your score prediction for tomorrow?
7-0 Posh. No, I'm joking. What's Harry Leonard like? Is he fit? Is Harry Leonard, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very fit and he's raring to go.
Oh dear. You know what? I'm gonna go 2-1 Vale.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe myself, but I'm gonna go 2-1 Vale.
You've got to do it. I can tell you right now that nobody on our side is predicting Port Vale wins, so somebody's got to do it.
No one on our side is either. I'm the only one.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alfie.
No worries,
That's
no worries.
AB7 on YouTube, and where else can our listeners find you if they want to go and have a look into all the things you're doing?
I'm on YouTube, so we've got some big things coming up on YouTube. I'm on TikTok as well, where I post behind the scenes, extra bits of interviews, and then I'm on Instagram, where I post anything about sort of private life, whether that be my football, my MMA, anything like that. So Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us, Alfie.
Thank you for having me.
See you later, mate. Right. Well, there we go. That must be the most negative fan we've had on Countdown to Kickoff all season. And to be fair, it's fair enough, isn't it? Rock bottom of the league. You're sort of expecting them to be quite negative. But yeah, you know what? Usually we say that we come out of these feeling quite nervous and, they haven't struck confidence into our hearts. But I'm feeling pretty confident after that, Max. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Wow. I wasn't expecting it to be that bad. A newly promoted side, and yeah, they're sat at the bottom, but I wasn't expecting that much doom and gloom. And AB7's one of the positive ones. He's one of the optimistic ones. And that's scary to think that it's so poor that the optimistic one says that the problem is the whole team. But look, we'll try our best, won't we, on Saturday, and hopefully it's 3 points by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll have a look through some of the comments quickly before we move on to get our Posh fan in. Sounds like Darren Moore is in the same vote that Ferguson. Yeah, lots of comparisons being made. He likes Darren Moore, Kellen Sarson, but Clee's a dead man walking. Yeah, it does seem that way. I wonder if a loss to us tomorrow could push him over the edge. I mean, what a terrible way to ruin a man's Christmas it would be to sack him, but it's going that way. Paul says, our Christmas record is dire. I do not expect it to change tomorrow. 2-1, playing most of the game with 10 men. Okay. We've also had Howard, beware doom and gloom. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. Oh, very poetic from Howard there, but he's right. Big up, big top, but big up Alfie. Lods just loves a big up. He's big up Countdown to Kickoff, big up Elite Lawn Maintenance, big up. And not so posh as Alfie sounds like all of us 3-4 weeks ago. And yeah, we do have a good record against Port Vale. That was something I saw. We do have a very good record against Port Vale. And to discuss that, as lots big ups, we'll be joined by Callum, who's a Posh fan, Callum Dolby. He's got a channel here on YouTube as well. Callum, how are you this evening, mate?
Hello. Yes, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Excited for Christmas now, and actually feeling very excited for tomorrow's game as well.
Yeah, well, I was just sat here watching the stream and just rubbing my hands together, listening to that Port Vale fan talk. I didn't realise how bad it had actually got. Obviously, just reading the table and their form, they're bottom of the league, really struggling. But until you actually speak to a fan who's been going to the games and knows what's been going on day to day, it really opens your eyes, I think. And like some of the comments have said, it reminds me of where we were probably 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you speak to these fans and they're actually like, yeah, we're bottom, but it's not that bad. Or, yeah, this, that and the other. And actually to just hear someone say, yeah, you know what, we're bottom because we're absolutely awful. And our entire team's a problem area was quite refreshing. Just hope they're not luring us into a false sense of security because that would be very painful. I'll start you off, Callum, with a question just about the season in general. How have you found it? It's been a bit of a roller coaster for all of us Posh fans. What would you say your assessment has been in general?
I mean, it's just like you said, it's just been like a roller coaster. I mean, I was Fergie out for quite a while, even going into last season. I just thought the brand of football and his tenure at the club had just gone completely stale. I think he just got into a position where he was untenable, and obviously, listening to like Dara's podcast and stuff, I felt like he was kind of just coping a little bit with having Darren as a manager and sort of being like asking his opinion on whether he's like got the job and stuff like that was a bit frustrating to listen to. I think you've just got to take emotions out of the game sometime and just really go with what you feel is the best way forward for the club. And I think getting Luke Williams in was a really astute managerial appointment. He had quite a good reputation with Notts County, did a fairly good job at Swansea from what I'm led to believe. And obviously it started off really well, and then we lost a couple of games, and then it was kind of all doom and gloom again. And then you win a couple, and then, everyone's back up and we're looking into the playoffs again.
That's the big thing, isn't it? Is that I think we are 7 points off 7th with 2 games in hand, I think. And by the sounds of things, it almost feels like that Port Vale are in more turmoil than what we were. So look, I'm going to ask, because I think I am a very optimistic human being, as most people know, but you just mentioned there looking up the table towards the playoffs again. Do you think at all, if you really looked at yourself, do you even think that it's a possibility? You look at the next few games we've got, you look at the form that we're hitting. I think the Cobblers score was unfair. I think really we should have put a lot more past them and we didn't. But if that can click, do you think there's a ceiling that this squad could hit?
I think it, in my opinion, it all depends on January for me. I think if we can get the players out that we need to get out and sign a couple of players that we need to sort of fill in the gaps, because obviously we don't know Tom Lees' situation. We don't know, like, the injuries seem to just be sort of hit and miss. We don't really know when players are coming back. We don't know when they get injured. So it's a bit... we don't really know what's going on. And I feel like we need to really see some partnerships forming on the pitch properly, because I feel like I've been chopping and changing the team quite a lot. I've had a lot of striking duos, whether it's been Garbett in the 10 supporting Leonard, or Jimmy J up front on his own, or him supporting, Leonard. I feel like we just need to get a consistent starting 11, at least 90 to 95% of games. Whenever we've been successful in the past, in my opinion, we've always had the sort of same 10, 11 players every single week. So I just want to see that consistency going forward. And if we can get that, I think we do have some really talented players in this squad, but I feel like there's a lot of dead wood, even some players on the bench that need to go as well.
Yeah, talk to me about January then. Darren McAntony has obviously said that if we want to sign players, 5 or 6 have to go. So first of all, who would be on your January wish list? Is there a position or any players that you're looking to sign? And which 5 or 6 would you like to see leave the building in January?
In terms of players, there's no one specific that I can think of. I think we need, depending on, again, injuries and what Mendy comes back like, I think having another left back in the building is going to be vital, because we can't expect Mills to play every game. I mean, he's 20 years old, and obviously he's going to get better with experience, but we can't burn him out like we've done with our youth players in the past. If Adebisi ever plays for us again, then that'll be a welcome sort of comeback for him. But yeah, I think a left back would be crucial. I don't think Mendy is good enough to be a backup, in my opinion. I think also I would like to say we need another winger, but obviously that's if we get rid of Odo, which I hope we do, because I don't think he's good enough for our squad. I've seen him over the past however long he's been with us, 18 months, whatever, and he's not really shown anything to sort of challenge at that top level in League One for me, and that's the expectation that I have and a lot of Posh fans have for this squad, and even that our owner has. So in terms of players going out, obviously I think we need to get rid of Chris Clark. I think that that relationship is just completely tethered. I'd like to see him get game time for us. I think there is some talent there, but just the way the owner spoke about him in the past and that relationship that he had with Fergie, I feel like he's kind of gone to Carlisle to prove us wrong, and he's got kind of an agenda against us now, maybe. And I feel like he's one we need to get rid of. I'd say I'd probably send Dornelli out on loan just so he can get some game time. I feel like he's not going to get much of a look in now. We're out of both cups, and we've got Johnston and Kioso, obviously. So I think getting him out on loan. In terms of other players that need to go out, Lindgren, I think if we get a decent offer for him, I think maybe we should probably sell him. Let's send him back to Sweden, maybe. But yeah, I think that's probably it for the outgoings.
Yeah, really interesting. I think January is going to be something that we're going to have to do a full episode on, because it's going to be a really busy month, and looking at which players we want to get out of the door is almost more important. I think it's been clear that it's going to be an out to get in sort of policy that we're going to be doing. I just wanted to ask you about, not related to transfers, but we had a lot of injury news today. It was confirmed that Tom O'Connor, Cian Hayes, and Jacob Mendy are back in consideration for tomorrow. First of all, I wanted to ask, out of those three, which of them would you like to see back involved? Would you like to see any of them starting on the bench? And follow-up question to Harley Mills, which supposedly has a rumoured injury. And if that is the case, how big of a blow do you think that is for us?
So I'll start on Harley Mills. I think it has been widely rumoured today on Twitter that he is injured for an extended period of time with a hamstring. Now you can sort of read into that as much as you want, but I think that's going to be a big blow, because if we are going to drop from him, it's not even just playing Mendy, right? It's playing a Mendy that hasn't been fit in months. So I mean, like I said before, I don't think he's good enough to play for us anyway, but to have him coming back not even fully fit and not match fit is quite concerning to me. And I think Tom O'Connor, I think would be best on the bench. I think Lees and Akagbe are forming quite a good partnership at the moment. So I'd like to see them continue. And Cian Hayes is an interesting one, because I think our wingers have struggled recently. I do like the look of Frith, but I feel like he's kind of quite similar to Hayes, where he's kind of just sort of gets the ball head down and tries to beat his player 2 or 3 times rather than having that end ball. So I think realistically, O'Connor and Hayes definitely will be on the bench. I'm not sure about Mendy, but because Johnson can play left back, right, and he's a lot more match fit. So I'm not sure Mendy will fit back in with our plans.
Yeah, talk to me then a little bit about Carl Johnston, because it's been a bit of a difficult time for him. Obviously, he seemed to be in the plans, and then he wasn't in the plans. He was dropped, and then he kind of had a shift about, and now it doesn't look like he's getting a look back in. With Mendy coming back from a long-term injury and Harley Mills rumoured to be out, it seems like he's the obvious choice. But do you think there's a world we could see it be Tom O'Connor that plays left back and not Carl Johnston? Do you see Carl Johnston being back in the plan? It seems like a bit of a pivot, doesn't it, from what we've been doing? And if it seems to me, if O'Connor is match fit, it makes sense to play the left-sided centre half. It makes sense to play him at left back.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, shifting O'Connor into left back. I mean, we see like if a lot of teams that set up defensively sort of play 4 centre backs, a left footer on the left and a right footer on the right. But I'm not sure if that's something that Williams will go for, because as we've seen, he's a very attacking minded manager. I think more likely it will be Johnston. I think he's not really I don't think he's really a Williams player either, because he's not amazing at attacking, but he's good at that sort of one-on-one dueling. So yeah, I think more than likely it will be Johnston. But yeah, it's that obviously we're believing the hearsay that Harley Mills is definitely injured.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Max. I hadn't even thought about playing Tom O'Connor left back. Something definitely food for thought. Right, Callum, tomorrow then, the big one, Port Vale away, bottom of the league.
Yeah.
It has banana skin written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, just give me your thoughts on the game, and then end it off with the score prediction. I want the full score, and then your first Posh goal scorer, if you have any.
Yeah, so I think it, like you said, it is a massive banana skin. I think we have a history of going to these teams that are, rock bottom and all hope's lost, and we kind of give them that bit of hope to get their season back on track. But no, I think we'll be fine. I really think that this will be a game where we can put a statement out and be like, this is where we're going for the rest of the season, and I think it will just put everyone in a good spirit going into the festive period. And yeah, so obviously going to my score prediction, I think it's going to be a 3-0 Posh. I don't think they'll get even close to our goalkeeper. I think they'll probably have a couple of pot shots, but no, I'm very confident tomorrow. And just hearing the Port Vale fan earlier made me even more confident. So I'm hoping for a good performance, 3 goals, and my first goal scorer, I'm going to go with Big Dave from a bullet header from a corner.
Oh, that'll be absolute bodies in the away end if Big Dave sinks a bullet header. Right, Callum, just to finish us off then, tell us about, your channel. You've started creating content again on YouTube, and give the sales pitch to any Posh fans watching to come and watch your videos. Yeah,
so some people in the chat might remember I used to do videos quite a few years back. I was sort of one of the first sort of Posh content creators, I guess you could say, until a lot more other people came along, like Cape United and yourselves, kind of just revolutionizing Posh content in general. But yeah, I'll do like the previews and the reviews like you guys do, and I'll be vlogging the games that I get to go to when I'm not at work. And yeah, I try and just give some sort of a positive spin on it, maybe. But I mean, a couple of games ago, I did lose my head when we lost that FA Cup game, but who doesn't, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Go watch Callum Dolby on YouTube, and can we have a quick UpThePoshcast, please, Callum?
UpThePoshcast.
UpThePoshcast. Right. There we are, Max. We've got a few things to discuss. The comments have got involved. Let me go back to, first of all, I should have told Callum that people were complimenting his shirt. Well, anyway, Colin likes it. And yeah, it's the Tommy Robson one, I think, that's being made by the Tommy Robson Statue Fund. I don't want to get any of that wrong, but it's available somewhere. Not So Posh. We sort of discussed that with Callum, didn't we? And we're going to do a full episode on, or like live stream or something. We're going to cover the January transfer. Trust me, between articles and videos and the amount of content we have coming out in the next week, including a live on Christmas Day, we will have enough content relating to the January transfer window for you. Do not fear. Kellen says CCC certainly likes a Mother Seal style Twitter post. Yeah, have to admit, not loving Chris Clark's sort of like, F you attitude since going out on loan, Don't think he's doing well at Carlisle, but he's not tearing the league up, is he? And he's playing in the National League, and we're playing in League One. So, Christopher, I don't have anything against you, but shush, pal. Paul says, oh no, the Swede and DOBB out. Yep, okay, yep. And do not bring Mendy back. Well, he's back, Paul. So he is back in the building. Guess who's back? Mendy's back. Big up Elite Lawn Maintenance from Daniel. Big up ELM. O'Connor in for a Quagway, I reckon. He's been decent, but I think it's a like-for-like change after his error versus Cobblers. Now, this is one I'd like to get your take on, Max, because you and I both felt like the sort of, not the pile-on, it wasn't that bad, but the criticism of Okagwe after Cobblers was a little bit unfair. Do you think he deserves to be dropped, or would you start him tomorrow?
I am 100% starting Dave tomorrow versus Port Vale. I completely agree. I was walking with Lods out of the stadium actually, and I gave Okagwe a 7, and I told Lods, and Lods was dumbfounded at the fact that I'd given Okagwe a 7. And honestly, if he hadn't have made that mistake, he was going to get an 8. So I think he's been perfectly fine. I agree. There was a comment earlier on about Okagwe and Lees forming a great partnership that I also agree with. And we spent a sizable chunk on Okagwe. I think it is unfair to drop him because of one mistake. Like, O'Connor wasn't making mistakes before that. Now, I think O'Connor was playing with an injury, but Doncaster and the game before that, which I think was Stevenage, I thought he had a really poor game. He gave away a penalty. He made a mistake for one of the Doncaster goals. There was 2 mistakes there that O'Connor made, and he's just come back to match fitness. Why rush him back when Okagwe's, I think, had 2 really good games by one mistake that didn't even cost us 3 points? And Charlie made a fantastic point that really, if we tied that game 2-2, and that would have been frustrating, I wouldn't have been blaming Okagwe for making the mistake, although that was what started the comeback, so to speak. I'd be more blaming the players in front of him for not scoring 3 or 4 more. I mean, Cobblers really sat in and just let us play how we want to play, and I think we had 33 shots and 13 on target, and we couldn't bury more than 2. So, I think it's harsh, Okagwe. I think that's really harsh to drop him. Big Dave definitely starts for me, and I don't think one mistake's going to change that opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm really enjoying Big Dave at the moment. I think, listen, he's 3 years younger than Manny Fernandez. People forget that. Like, he's a young player, and if other young players were putting in performances like he was at this age, if this was a lad from our academy, people would be going absolutely mental. And yes, he made a mistake, but come on, guys. If you don't see the potential with this guy, who's a very good athlete, quick, strong, pretty good in the air, actually not bad with the ball at his feet, runs with the ball out of defense, seems to be organized, seems to be a good character, and definitely in the changing room. Why wouldn't you be supportive of this guy? I think he's going to be great for us. I really do think we've signed a good player here, one that could have a real big impact in the future of the club, and one that could play and start for us at centre back for years to come. And yeah, I wouldn't be dropping him after a game like Cobblers. I think that would be sort of hanging him out to dry a little bit. I think that Lees and Okagwe partnership is very strong, and I think he's doing really well to support the lad. I understand the sort of wanting to get did I just completely lag out?
Yeah, I think you did, and I was worried it was me lagging out. So we've sort of just like stared at the screen.
We've just left a void for about.
Yeah.
Well, sorry about that. Well, I was talking about Tom O'Connor. I think him and Okagwe are going to have to play together at some point as well, because Tom Lees, while he's great, he's old. Comment from Not So Posh. Just hope my internet withstands the rest of this live stream from this point. Says, hope CJ starts at right back, his natural position. Playing any players out of position weakens the team. In a war, you wouldn't have a sniper driving a tank. It's an interesting analogy, but I agree with you that you wouldn't want to play a player out of position. Although what I would say in counter to that is, if Harley Mills is not available and Jacob Mendy isn't fit to start, we're sort of going to have to play a player out of position anyway. And I think JD should start a right back Donnelly, because he has to get minutes for us. I love JD. I really do like him. And I think I agree with Callum about him getting a loan in January. CJ hasn't made the squad recently. He has not. That's another point. JD has been favoured over him, because I just think JD offers a little bit more going forward. He's more of a Luke Williams style player. Joshua's getting his score prediction. And actually, I'll just put this banner up. Get your score predictions in on the Next Level Barbell Club Predictions League, please. Colin, Big Dave starts for me. Get in. Don't need a pile on a Cagboy. He's been a good and young defender. Agree with Callum, who was just on here. The hobbyist magician says, I'm stay. Was there a question that was like stay or...
I think he wants a Cagboy to stay.
Right.
And I think that's the answer.
Right, Josh Dove says Posh need to stop passing it at the back because that's what causes errors. Josh would love Dell. We're a team that plays out from the back. I don't think there's any issue with that. And it creates just as many great opportunities going forward as it does errors. Mark Salt with hopefully Hayes back on the bench. Bye Odo. Yeah. See you later, pal. I think we're slowly reaching the end of Abraham Odo. It wouldn't surprise me if January saw him leave and go back to Harrogate or something like that. Not so posh. Big Dave, for me, despite him being weird at heading a football, Ari, he can't direct it. I agree that sometimes he heads it into weird areas and he doesn't necessarily direct it. And this is something I have criticised him for in the past, but that's more of a criticism of, it's like constructive. How can he level up his game? And I think that's something that will come. This is an interesting one. On the topic of young areas, now this feels harsh because from what we understand, Oscar Wallin had some mental health issues and was struggling with football. And honestly, you know what I say about Oscar Wallin retiring? I say fair play to the guy because he was not happy. He was not doing what he loved in life. He had a very good potential football career ahead of him. He probably could have played in the top flight back in Sweden or gotten moved to another good club in England and had played a long career of professional football. But he decided, actually, no, that's not for me. I'm going to go back and do what I love and spend time with my family and go back to studying. And really, fair play to the guy. I really don't see that. Is Garbett becoming an enigma, best player at the club, but struggling to see where he fits in? Now, Max, we've spoken about Garbett a lot, haven't we? What is your comment on Matthew Garbett? I mean, it's clear that the talent's there, but for me, I'm with the hobbyist magician. We literally just have to find him a role in this team, don't we?
Yes, yeah, we discussed it on the final whistle after the previous game. Garbett is such a tricky one because Lod said that he could be one of the most unplayable midfielders in the league if we can find a position for him. Charlie and John were crying out for Garbett to find just shoehorn Garbett in and let him make a position his own. I find it very challenging when you win and you make so many chances like you did against Cobblers to then change the team and put Garbett in. JJM and Leonard have a fantastic relationship that's very clear to see. The only player that I would look to swap would be Ben Woods for Garbett, and I'd play Garbett and Archie Collins as my base in midfield, and then I play JJM more advanced. And then if I want to see the game out, I take JJM off and I bring Ben Woods on. And if I want to go forward more, JJM would come off, Garbett would move to the 10. So that's sort of, you can look at it that way. Or for example, Garbett or Collins would come off and Ben Woods would come on. So you can look at it that way. I'm not starting Garbett, I don't think, on Saturday if I have the option. I think Garbett should sit on the bench and come back in. If Hayes is fit to start or fit to give us 45, I'd like to see 45 from Hayes and 45 from Frith on the wings. And I'd let Garbett sort of just sit and let us find the position for him when we see what happens in January. Because who knows, Archie Collins could be one of the ones that leave and we could see Ben Woods and Matthew Garbett as a pivot, and we might find that an even better midfield partnership than Collins and Garbett or Collins and Woods. So I would just not be hasty on Garbett. Really difficult to shoehorn him in, but I wouldn't ruin the cohesion of the team, especially, 33 shots, 13 on target we had against Cobblers, to reiterate, or something along those lines. You can't change the team and ruin the continuity, can you?
No, I think Garbett will probably start in the same position he did against Cobblers, to be honest, out on the right wing. But I do agree, we need to find a way to get him centrally. Ado can only play if he improves, which basically translates to Ado will not be playing. Not So Posh says, the freeze! Big up 15-second silence. Yes, yeah, we froze, yeah. Howard says, sort of agreeing with you, playing Garbett, although he wants Collins to be the one that's rested. interesting. JD is awful. Wow. I'm going to be honest, not so posh. I really do not like this take at all. I think that's really harsh on JD. I think that's really harsh. I think he's a good defender. I think he's good going forward. I think he's a young player and he's exhibiting that. But there's a lot of promise there. And I think if you can't see it, to be honest, you're a bit football blind, because there's a reason that he got an England junior call up for under 20 level. You know, he's a good player. He's going to be good. Paul says, what happened to the old guy? If that's Dell, then he left the podcast. If it's another old guy, then he was probably just a guest on Countdown to Kickoff one week. Might be Mark Salt, if he's listening, Mark. Kellen Sarson says, Oscar will always have a Wembley win. But this is the thing, right? He's always going to be able to tell, especially if he goes on to do some really cool thing, which he seems like a very intelligent guy. Like, he now goes and graduates as a lawyer and becomes a lawyer, and then his kids are like, oh, you're a really cool lawyer. And he's like, yeah, but I used to be a professional footballer and I won at Wembley in front of 70,000 people for Peterborough United. That's a great story to whip out at a party, isn't it? Colin says Garbett will take Collins' place when he goes, potentially. Woods, yeah, he's not been great recently, Woods. I do agree that Collins is a really important name. Wow, we could give Bolu a chance. We could go for Langstaff. I doubt Lindgren will go in January, to be fair, but maybe that will change our mind. Maybe our minds will change on that one, but I really doubt Lindgren's going to move on, because I don't think the interest is going to be there. And I think it's early to put Bolu as sort of that second choice striker again. I think that would be a silly thing to do. Wow. Not so posh really is not a fan of JD. Max, do you agree with this?
I'm glad, because I wanted to discuss it when we brought it up originally, but I couldn't fit myself in. But you know, let's all we have to do is look back to the games like Wrexham and like Wembley, when, you know, we played two sides that got promoted to the Championship, and I thought Donnelly did well in both. And Wembley especially, you know, that was a record-breaking Birmingham team that back line, including Oscar Walling, did a fantastic job to keep to no goals. There has to be a you know, I spoke like this with Mother Sale. I spoke about this all the time with Harley Mills, that you don't put on a performance like that with no talent. You don't put on a performance like that if they're awful, you know. And although you have a lot of years watching Posh over the two youngsters that are on the screen at the moment, what I will say is that I think James Donnelly is going to have a career. And I think if he wants to break into the team, you've got to give him the opportunity, and not to say that Port Vale are a pushover, because we're without Chiozo, and we could be without Harley Mills, which means Johnson has to play on the other side. What better opportunity than to give him 90 minutes to prove to people that think he's poor wrong? I don't think James Donnelly's the perfect footballer, and I don't think he's better than Chiozo. I don't think he's better than Cole Johnston either. But what I will say is that Donnelly is very young, and he needs to have time and opportunities to grow. And if we flat out refuse to give him that and just say he's awful and he's crap, and, well, you know, then he's never going to grow, is he? Because the fan base is just on his back. Why? We should give a player who's so young the time and the experience. And I think it'll be a fantastic opportunity for him Saturday, because I think he will start, and I think he'll have a good game.
Yeah, I think one of the main issues with JD as well, which will be the last thing on this subject, is people are either really against JD or really in favour of JD. There's very little balance when James Donnelly is discussed, because he has a lot of good friends in Peterborough and stuff that really vocally support him and really perhaps over-egg it. And then there's people like Not So Posh who really just being really dramatic about what a couple of maybe 5 out of 10 performances from JD. I mean, give it a rest. What I would say is just let JD be JD, everyone. He's an academy player. He's in his first couple of seasons of professional football. Just let the guy be. Let him play. Judge him as you judge any other academy player, and just see how it goes. And I think he should get a loan in January. I think that would be good for him. But yeah, just everybody chill out when it comes to James Donnelly. any other business, Max, in terms of these comments, or are we going to go to these score predictions?
Yeah, I do just want to quickly go back to the Hobbyist Magician talking about Langstaff. I think Langstaff is probably a viable option for us to go for in January. I wouldn't do it unless Jimmy J Morgan gets recalled. I think Dara said that there's no recall clause, but after Kyozo happened in the 23 season or the 24 season, I just simply don't believe it because I'm scarred. So I wouldn't go for Langstaff unless Jimmy J Morgan gets recalled, because I think that's the position that Luke Williams would play Langstaff in a back four. He'd play him in the 10 in that system, and that's the strike partnership that develops. I would rather get him in January when he's got 6 months left on his, not 6 months left, but he's got 6 months less, on his contract in September. Hopefully in the summer he'll be cheaper. We can go in for him then when, of course, Jimmy J Morgan, whose wages we just simply cannot pay, unfortunately departs. But I'd rather look at a centre-back if we're going to be without Hughes, and if this O'Connor calf injury gets worse. I'd look at a centre-back. I'd look at a left-back, because if Harley Mills is injured again, that leaves us very poor in cover. And I'd look at a winger as well. Hayes isn't match fit yet. Frith, there's question marks. The only winger that looks remotely improving, so to speak, is Kyra Lisby. So I think they're the three positions I'd look at before I looked at Langstaff. But if JJM goes, I think it's a definite. We should definitely try for him.
Right. Well, Howard, with that last comment, been watching Posh for 60 years, a little strong arm in there. We'll go through the score predictions. Now we'll get them up on the screen for all of the hosts. Get your score predictions in through the Next Level Barbell Club Predictions League on our website. The website address is on the bottom of your screen right now. Some confident podcasters this week, I have to say. Ashley has gone for a 3-0 Posh win at Port Vale with Jimmy J Morgan, the first goal scorer. I've gone 4-1 with Lisby to score. I think he's in a good vein of form, and I think that's going to continue, although I do think we'll concede. I think it will be a silly one. I don't think it will be anything too dramatic. I think it will still be a comfortable win regardless. Harry, equally confident, so we'll keep the clean sheet, and he's also backed Lisby. So is Lodge with that 1-0 win. John thinks it's going to be a bit more of a narrow thing. He's gone for a 1-0 win with Harry Leonard as the first goal scorer. Max, you've also gone Harry Leonard. You've gone 3-1. Just talk me through the thinking behind that.
Yeah, Harry Leonard is 4 goals off the top scorer. He's going to get 3 more tomorrow to put him at 9. I think he'll get his first hat-trick for the club and his first match ball. The bloke's been unreal, and I think we're really going to click tomorrow, and he'll hopefully get what he should have had against Cobblers, a hat-trick.
Indeed. Well, with that, I think we're done. So a big thank you to both of the guests that joined us, Alfie and Callum. It's been a really enjoyable show. And thank you to everyone for getting involved in the chat as well. Honestly, it makes doing this so much easier when we have comments constantly to respond to. It's great. We love you when you share your opinions, even if they are controversial. It's fantastic. Thank you to Elite Lawn Maintenance as well for sponsoring this episode. Remember, they are 360 times stronger, their products, than the ones you get from your garden centres. They're operating around Peterborough. They've got 10 years in the business of doing football pitches. They are all round the best local independent Peterborough-based independent lawn care company. I've botched that up a little bit, but yeah, use code UpThePoshcast with them for 25% off your first treatment. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.
Well,